Hello everybody, I'm Gwen Campbell-Mindes, and welcome to Gwen's Bookish Ramblings, and today we're starting with this picture because I think I'm awfully clever, because we're talking about the Black Swan, which of course isn't the bird, as we see in this picture, nor are we talking about the movie, which is a psychological thriller that you may have heard of, but either way, we're not talking about this either, because it's not a book. Nor are we talking about this, the ballet Swan Lake, in which we have the White Swan Odette and the Black Swan Odile. This is a picture of Misty Copeland, who is part of the American Ballet Theater, if you are wondering and don't know. And it is her in the role as the Black Swan. Now, the thing about Swan Lake, before we get to the actual book, is this is a ballet that has been around for literally centuries, century and a half, too. I'm terrible with dates. And this was a ballet that was choreographed by Marius Petipa at the time, at least in part to show off his wife, who was something of a virtuosa, so he had her do 32 fouettes, that is 32 turns on one foot, sort of like 32 pirouettes in a row, just to show off that she could. So that's been in the ballet ever since during the Black Swan solo, and it doesn't really have anything to do with anything except that it makes the ballerina look really, really amazing for not toppling over. So Swan Lake, for those who don't know, is the story about a bunch of swans who are actually young women who are being held captive by an evil sorcerer, and he enchants them so that they are swans during the day and women only at night. Sometimes it's only by the light of the full moon, sometimes it's only whenever. Stories in ballets do vary from company to company. Sometimes Swan Lake has a happy ending, sometimes it has a tragic ending, more of the time it has a tragic ending. But the meat of the story is that Prince Siegfried, his mother wants him to get married, so she tells him, we're going to have some princesses come by, you'd better pick one. Oh, and by the way, here's your birthday present, a crossbow. And off he goes with his crossbow, a big, glittery, sparkly crossbow. It's usually glittery and sparkly, makes it show up on stage better, but also to make it look special. Anyways, he goes off and he sees a bunch of swans, and he tries to kill one, but she turns into a woman, and they immediately fall in love, and he's told that he can have her, by the evil sorcerer, only it's all a trick because when she shows up at the ball, it's not actually her, but somebody else who has been made to look exactly like her, and so he pledges to love her forever and ever and ever, and since what he usually is saying is the woman who's by my side, or at least that's what the summaries all tell us, the sorcerer goes, Muhaha, I have tricked you, and therefore you are forsworn, and you shall never be together, and I kill everybody. And then there's a lot of kerfuffling and fighting, and like I said, most of the time it ends in tragedy with either Siegfried or the White Swan Odette, or, well, Siegfried is always dead in the tragic one. Sometimes it's him and Odette, sometimes it's just him, but they're dead, and then the ballet ends. So, the book today is based on that ballet. It is Mercedes Lackey's The Black Swan, which is told in no small part from the perspective of the young woman who takes on the Black Swan role, who is also named Odile in the book, as in the ballet. But Odile in this case is a sorceress and the daughter of the evil sorcerer, von Rothbart. And she just wants to impress her father and just wants to become a sorceress and wants to go traveling. And her father isn't really having any of it, but he's also using her. And as an outsider reading the book, this is immediately or very quickly obvious, but to her, because she's on the inside and she loves him and has been raised to believe that this is how things are, she thinks that he loves her. In a purely paternal way, of course. And when, at the end of the book, he turns her into a doppelganger for Odette, who is in love with Siegfried, and Siegfried, says that he will marry none but the woman by his side, and it turns out to be her. That's when her last illusion about her father is genuinely shattered. That's when she finds out that no, she was being played all along and he's actually evil. The other main protagonist in this that we hear from is Siegfried. And what's very interesting about this book is that Mercedes Lackey doesn't just retell the story, she expands it. She creates motivations for people, because in the ballet, Odile isn't really anything. She's a character who shows up during the second act, played by the same ballerina who is playing Odette during the rest of the ballet, to trick Siegfried. That's it. And Mercedes Lackey takes this woman who has no character in the ballet, no personality, no motivations, and gives her motivations, gives reasons and explanations, and creates a story for her. And it's really very, very interesting. It's interesting the way that she takes Siegfried, who in the ballet is just kind of a prince. He's really just kind of there. He's there to do acrobatics. He's there to, wave around a sparkly, glittery crossbow. He's there to partner the ballerina, but he doesn't really have a story. Mom says you should marry, he says no. Mom says you're gonna do it because I'm queen, so you're gonna do it. And then he sort of accepts with ill grace, and it's a very, very simplified story. And that makes sense for a ballet, because it's a ballet. A ballet, you don't have actual dialogue, you have pantomime. You have someone pointing at the ring finger on their hand, using that to indicate by ballet shorthand, you will get married, and the other person stepping back, shaking their hands and gesturing widely, no. Now, I love the ballet. I really, really do. I think it's a wonderful institution, and I'm very sorry we don't have enough public funding for ballet companies to stay in the black. But, storytelling is not generally the ballet's forte. And Mercedes Lackey has taken this bare-bones outline of a story and basically made it bigger, made it complete, gave hints as to what von Rothbart's motivations might have been, even though we don't actually know, but there are hints and whispers in the book. We get a motivation for the queen and why she absolutely has to insist that Siegfried get married. We give a motivation, in point of fact, for why, in a lot of versions of this, von Rothbart winds up killing her. Along with, Siegfried and everybody else. And then at the end of it, Mercedes Lackey, as is her wont, W-O-N-T, want, basically gives us a happy ending, which is always nice for people like me who are entirely shallow and will not put up with this sad ending crap. I would like to mention that, as ever, I am a shallow, shallow person, and I like simple books with happy endings. And I like this book. I like the way it spins out the story. I like the way it gives nearly everybody, motivations. I like the way that she creates characters for so many of these side characters that we never hear from. The Swans, not all of them get characters, because, of course, Swan Lake is about more than just two swans, the Black Swan and the White Swan. It's not just about Odette Odile, it's about the fact that there's all of these women who are swans. It's about how all of these women have been captured, and all of them are under this spell, and all of them are in this in-between state as forced by the sorcerer. And so these swans, several of them, not all of them, it's a lot of people. We all have limits on how many characters we can put into any given novel. These swans, they get personalities, and Odile has a personality, and Odette is more than just the swan lady that Siegfried falls in love with. And Siegfried, it becomes more of a personality than the prince. Because we've all seen that complaint from Disney movies about the princes in the couple of earliest princess movies from Walt Disney. Because, I mean, the princess in Snow White and Sleeping Beauty, most of these early princes are very much just there because we need a prince. And I just really, really enjoy the book. I enjoy seeing how this ballet gets spun out, how we take a simple story and make it bigger, make it more complete, make it a real story, not just an outline of archetypes. And in a lot of ways, that's what Mercedes Lackey does, actually, in a lot of these books, is she takes archetypes in her fairy tale books and spins them out, makes them into people. And she has her detractors. I won't deny that. But if what you're looking for is a good, fun read, if you're looking for fairy tales, if you're looking for just something where there's some trouble and some strife and everything works out at the end and we get a happy ending, this is the kind of book for you. Now, Mercedes Lackey has a lot of fairy tales, and I will probably do others along the way. She's best known for her Valdemar series, which you may have heard of, which starts off with the book Arrows of the Queen. And I will probably get to that as well, but I've decided to start out by not doing series, because once you start doing a series, you really should do the whole series, not just a book plucked from the middle of it. So, as I start to run down and say an awful lot, I will wrap this up by just saying once more that this is a favorite. This is a book that I own, that lives on my bookshelf in my bedroom, that I come back to when I'm looking for something that has a real story to it, but that is comforting and familiar. So, if you find Swan Lake interesting, if you enjoy the ballet, you may enjoy this book. If you like fairy tales, you'll probably enjoy this book. And as always, the various details of pictures and art I will put into the description below, because that's where I put it. And I hope to see at least somebody again next week. Thank you all for coming.